Hello, compassion ambassadors and friends. Thank you so much for tuning in first to yourself and into this very important topic about how we truly heal and how we create a life that what we thrive in, where we're thriving in our lives. I'm here with my friend Stefan Grafstein. Stefan, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
And the reason why I invited Stefan is because he's brilliant on many levels. He's been an angel in my life on my path, but he's also just got this really unique sort of understanding about the cryptocurrency market. And so I really invited him here to be a voice, an empowering voice for our wealth pillar of our health. So, Stefan, if you can tell me a little bit about your work, because you're not just a cryptocurrency expert. You've got a lot going on. So give us a download about what you're up to and where people can find you, and then we'll get into the cryptocurrency.
All right, great, thank you. StefanGrafstein.com is where you can find me. And I work as a transformational coach for business leaders and partners, both romantic and business partners or life partners. And I'm writing a book right now called The Power of Risk, and a related podcast is launching soon. And so there's kind of two main parts to that. One of them is the understanding of how taking risks in sport and in life can create non-ordinary states of consciousness where we can shift out of fear and doubt and uncertainty into more presence and into more power and into more basically of our ability to reprogram our subconscious patterning. And I've got a model that I use called the 3 voices, understanding our thoughts, where our thoughts come from, how to work with them. I call it making friends with the voices inside. We typically like to push away fear or push away insecurity. My approach is, well, let's make friends with it and bring it into the front and get close with it so we can really know what it's about and so it can soften. So that's my livelihood. That's my work. That's my calling. I've been doing that 10 years. And I feel like my calling in this life is to help expand consciousness of people, whether that's through learning about cryptocurrency or through investing differently or through shifting your thinking or being more adventurous. I'm here to expand consciousness.
Yay, likewise. And you're such an incredible pillar of support, just like masculine, steady, loving, gentle support in my life. So thank you so much for that. Thank you. And it's always great to be able to know that within your network, if you really start to cultivate and you participate in a network of love, which is what we're creating here, I really believe that everything that we need exists within our network. Right. And so it's really about understanding that we're each sort of playing these different roles and that we can be in this symbiotic relationship and really learn from each other, which is why I love to celebrate people like yourself in the network. So the other day, basically, just to give you guys a preface of what prompted this, I basically came across the fact that I had put not even barely $300, or maybe I had put $150 in cryptocurrency back in like early 2017. And I'd been locked out of my Coinbase account, and obviously all hell has been breaking loose in my life. So I had lost track of it, but I came across it when I was cleaning some things up, and I was like, yeah, like awesome. And I think it was probably you, Stefan, that told me to put it there. So, but not much has happened in the cryptocurrency. Like there was a huge boom, and then there's been sort of a lull, I think. And then I was just about to take it out because of, just this sort of like high financial demand in my life for all the treatments and stuff. And I thought, wait a second, I'm going to call Stefan. Check in on this first, because I heard a little rumor that like the crypto market is about to go through another like bull run. So can you tell us a little bit about what happened back in like 2016 and then what might be happening here soon?
Yeah. So I first heard about crypto in 2016, and a friend of mine is working on the Ethereum project or related projects to the Ethereum blockchain. And he said, look, this is the future of the internet. I'm super busy. I can't really tell you much about it, but you should buy ETH. Go look it up. And I was like, tell me more. He said, I'm too busy. And he's got everyone in his life calling him, I want to know about it, right? Because he told everyone that he knew. So I began to, this is really interesting because I had just fractured my neck snowboarding in
I remember.
January of 2016. Or yeah, I believe so. C2, I broke C2 snowboarding, and I was in my house and I couldn't really do anything. And I got this message, and it took me about a month or two to really start buying it. And when I realized what it was, I bought as much as I could, and it was going up. It went from like $1.75 per Ethereum to $25 per Ethereum over a matter of days or weeks. And
Wow.
then it went down to 10. And I was buying up at 25. I was like, oh, this thing's going to 200. I'm going to buy, and I bought, because you can only buy a little bit of time because of the way you have to transfer money in. And it went down to 10. And then over the next few months, it went to 100 and back to 50. And then it went up to 200. And so it's been doing, Ethereum has been doing that pattern since I saw it first in January 2016. And so first I want to say this is a highly volatile commodity, and you really want to either look at this like I'm gambling, or I'm going to do a lot of research and it's still a gamble. But you know, you really have to understand that there are a lot of risks involved in cryptocurrency. And yes, you said, Heather, that like we're pretty certain these are going to stay around, and I would agree. I think that I'm long on crypto, and in the short term, it could drop right now and then not recover for another 12 to 24 months. So just know, like, you really want this to be more of a long-term thing.
Mhm.
Um, so
I remember though, back in, like, see, when I first heard about it from you, I think we were coming into the end of 2016, early 2017. And I was hearing stories like, if you would have just put $100 into Bitcoin way back in the beginning, instead of buying that pair of sneakers or whatever, you could be, like a millionaire. Like huge leaps were happening for people that made you really go, oh, we spend little amounts of money without a lot of consciousness around it, when if we know how to take even a little amount of money and put it in the right place, it can actually work for us and grow.
yeah, so I'm definitely for looking at cryptocurrencies as a long-term investment of a high risk profile. So, some people recommend putting 1 to 10% of your net worth into high risk assets, and those are ones. And when you're younger, you can put more. And basically the way I look at it is like, if I lose everything in an investment and I end up, starting over in my life, do I feel like I have the time and the energy and the ability to earn again? And um, I was in real estate. I used to buy foreclosures at the courthouse with cash before seeing the houses back in San Diego in the 2000s. And then I got out of that and I started day trading in the stock market, and I lost almost everything that I had made in real estate. And but I was still young, I was 40, and I took a job, my first corporate job, my first salary job actually. And I saved up money and made money back. And that money I put into crypto. So, definitely I would say, only put in what you're willing to lose. And yes, putting in a certain percentage into high risk investments is something I'm definitely for. And I think that really, like, for me, it's become somewhat of a intuition or an inner knowing where it's like, um, well, I can say this in both in my real estate, my stock market, and my crypto investing, the hardest part has been selling when it's up, when people are saying it's going to go more,
Mm.
right? So I was up on the stocks, and then some of my friends were like, you should sell. I said, no, we haven't even got to the main event of where this stock is going to go up. And they were like, it doesn't matter. You're up 200%, exit. And so just, if you're going to put money into crypto, know that it's probably going to go up a lot and then it's probably going to crash. So get out at a certain point when you feel like you've made a good run, and then sit on the sidelines for a bit and um, enjoy the fact that you just made a success. Try to let go of the feeling like you missed out, the FOMO of, oh, it kept going. Like if we had sold your Bitcoin at 10,000 in 2017 and it went to 20, be happy that you sold at 10 because it went down to 3.
Right.
And so what's happening there is you have people who are just expert traders who are better than us at timing the market, making money. And when it went to 20,000, everyone was like, "Oh, well, let's take profits here and let's sell." And so there's a lot of people buying in the market that don't really know what they're doing, and some of them sold. Like they bought at 15,000 Bitcoin and they sold it at 10 because they thought, "Oh, this is horrible. I need to get out and save my money." And yeah, I mean, if they needed the money in the next couple of months, that's a good plan. But if you could have kept it in, bought at 15, it was at 15 in April of 2019. It went back up to like 14 actually. So, but what's happening now is a few things. There's the amount of Bitcoins being issued is going to reduce in May, and it happens every few years. It's called the halvening. So the supply is reducing, and we can assume that the demand is increasing because every day the world's population grows and more people find out about it. And there's more, mostly positive news these days, I think, about cryptocurrency that's helping people become more interested and more bullish and wanting to buy it. So as demand increases and more people buy, the price will keep going up over time. But then the people who are trading are going to sell when it goes up a lot and the price will crash.
Mm-hmm.
So that's essentially what's been happening with the price fluctuations. And that should probably continue for some time until if we get to a point where, let's say, what do we have, 7 billion people on the planet? Let's say like 3 billion people own Bitcoin. They, which is, a lot of people don't own it yet because it's hard. You have to get this account, you have to figure out these weird like addresses, and then it's like the numbers of like how much is a Bitcoin. It's like 0.0001 Bitcoin. How much is that? And it's not easy as just going to a bank, right? So when it becomes easier and 3 million people own Bitcoin, it's possible that it won't fluctuate as much, in my opinion, because there's going to be a much greater amount. There's like $250 million is the value of all of the current total cryptocurrencies. And it was at 800 or 900 in 2017 when it was at its peak. So imagine, it's at, 100 trillion, or I don't know if that's possible, but 10 trillion. That's like 100 times where it is today. Some guy buying and selling his crypto isn't going to move the market probably as much as it is now. So there might be more stabilization in the future.
Well, you were explaining to me, can you give us, you laid out like 3 important foundational things to understand about the crypto market and the different types of coins.
Yeah.
I think that's just a good baseline
Yeah.
for us to start just, I just want us to be educated, like on
Yeah.
how things are changing with currency.
Yeah. So the story I've heard is that Bitcoin was launched by a group of people in 2008 after the debt crisis, the credit crisis, because they wanted to provide a means of exchange that was not influenced by the government, the feds, whoever it is, who are the ones that are issuing more money into the money supply and devaluing the money and issuing interest rates and loans that are, knowing income verification loans, and just allowing people to have more control over the currency that they use.
Mm-hmm.
And so the idea in Bitcoin is that there's a fixed supply. You can't print more money and devalue the coin. And that way it's more reliable or stable. And that theory is not really true today because Bitcoin's highly volatile. It's not stable. But it is, for some people, an easier and cheaper means of exchange. You can You can scan a QR code on your phone to my phone, and you can then move money. And, for 14 cents, I can give you, $20,000 and not have to pay a $35 wire fee. And I can do it 24 hours a day. So that's the original thing that was created. And there's many coins like Dash and Monera and Litecoin that are similar to Bitcoin in that their main purpose is to exchange value easily, quickly, cheaply. And one of them, I think it's Monera or Zcash, I think it's called ZEC, have some sort of privacy factors where you don't, it's impossible to find out who is the person who's exchanging the money. So they're trying to they're trying to make it faster. They're trying to make it more scalable. Like you've heard maybe Bitcoin's slow, like it takes 10, 15 minutes for the coins to show up. And if we have 3 billion users, it'll be even slower. So they're working now to improve speed. And whichever coin is the one that can do the fastest, cheapest, easiest, best user interface might ultimately overtake Bitcoin and become the one to use. Now, one factor here is if you know about VHS and beta, the VHS came out first, and it had the greatest market share. By the time beta came out with better technology, apparently beta is better in some way, I don't know what it is, everyone already had a VCR or VHS VCR, and nobody wanted to get a beta. It was like, why would I get a beta? I got to buy another machine. So beta failed. Beta never had mass adoption because they were too late. So Bitcoin has the advantage of market share currently. Many websites, you can spend Bitcoin. So it's possible that Bitcoin will remain dominant because it already is the most used coin. You'd have to really be way better for people to really switch. But I own a little bit of all these other coins. Maybe I'm 40% Bitcoin, 40% Ethereum, and or 35 and 35, and then 30% a bunch of these little ones, these altcoins, because you just don't know. And
An
you just
altcoin is an alternative coin. It's not Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But it's not. So Ethereum
is an altcoin.
Is an altcoin. Okay.
Yeah.
So anything
So
that's not Bitcoin is an altcoin.
Yeah. So basically, like one of the things that happened before is, in order to buy Ethereum, you had to buy Bitcoin first and then trade it into Ethereum. There wasn't ways to go straight to Ethereum in the early days. And so all the other coins also had to be traded through Bitcoin. So in the beginning, Bitcoin was also dominant because everyone bought Bitcoin before anything else. And then they would trade out of altcoins into Bitcoin when they were trying to make money doing trades, like buy high or buy low, sell high, right? So Bitcoin for a long time just had more people using it because it was the utility token that everyone needed in order to do anything. Now you can buy straight from US dollars into most coins. So Bitcoin is no longer that, but it's still, is the dominant coin. And Ethereum got really close to overtaking Bitcoin around January 2018. And so Ethereum is a second kind of coin, which is a blockchain system that allows you to launch applications on its network and use the coin Ethereum as the fuel for payment to run your application. So for instance, you could have one of the things that I love is this idea of, let's say, media. So I could post a video or an article or whatever, and people could give me money if they like it. So I think this is one of the best use cases for crypto is, you can just hit bing, 5 cents, $1, $10, and give the writer or the media creator money directly. And so you could, but it needs money to run the system, right? It costs money to run the computers. It costs money to have the network work. So Ethereum uses its coin as the gas, they call it, to run the engine of the network. And they say that this is better than the internet because it's more secure. And they say that it's less hackable or unhackable, and that you can potentially have all the data. Like people say Facebook owns all your data. You could potentially have all your media on your computer and not on a server of the Facebook company or whoever it is that's posting your content. So these are some of the things that I heard that had me go, wow, Ethereum is the future. And I bought, a bunch of Ethereum when I could. And there are competitors to Ethereum. Neo is a Chinese one. Qtum, I believe, is, I'm not sure, I think that's Chinese as well. And then there's a Japanese one. I can't think of it now. Cardano, which is ADA. There's a lot of people trying to do what Ethereum's doing, because apparently, from what I've heard, the code is open source. So people can just go look at Ethereum and go, oh, let's do what they're doing, but make it better. But Ethereum, again, was first to market. So they have the greatest market share of developers and companies that are using their network. So they are most likely, I think, to succeed. But, Google wasn't the first. Yahoo was first, and Google came out and they overtook them. So they just, you just never know what's going to happen. So I own some Cardano, and I own these other, what they call is protocol layer. So these are the systems that are being created to build other systems on top of. So the protocol layer in the early, time that I was in cryptocurrency, which it wasn't that early, but 2016, everyone was like, buy the protocol layers. The Ethereums and the competitors are the ones that have the most likelihood of being around in 10 years. Because the third coin type is I wonder if they call this a utility token, where I'm not sure if that's the right term, but it has a utility where, like, for instance, there's one coin I know of called Power, POWR. And I believe that when you have solar in your house and you sell back to the grid, they give you coins. They don't give you, it's Australian. They don't give you Australian dollars. They give you power tokens. And then when you need some power, you can use your tokens to get the power. There's another coin I've heard of. I think it's called Vcoin, and it's something like some sort of coupon where a company can issue you, Target can issue you some coins for free that have some kind of coupon value, and then you redeem them at the purchase in the cart. This is a really rough description of it. I don't own it, and I haven't really researched it, but these tokens are like business ideas that people have,
Right.
that they're like, hey, here's a great one. Listen to this. Let's call it the Ford token. So Ford cars will have tokens that they have loaded in the car, and it's autonomous driving car, let's say, and you say, I'm late. I want to pay every car in front of me 10 cents to get out of the way, and then I can pass them.
What?
And automatically, the car will signal all the cars I'm paying to go faster, move out of my lane, and they'll exchange 10 cents. And
Wow.
that's fascinating, right?
Holy shit.
This
See,
is happening.
this is why we're having this conversation. We got to stay up on these things. Oh my God.
So that last one is going to happen. I guarantee that
Wow.
will happen. And that, I think, is one of my favorite use cases of this, call it utility token or whatever. It's like, but to invest in that, is like investing in, in terms of tech companies like pets.com, which was one of the ones that failed, versus investing in something like, AT&T, which provides the cabling through the neighborhoods to provide the data. Like Ethereum's more like the AT&T that provides the cables, right? And the car token is like pets.com, where they're a retailer of some product that maybe there's more risk there in these last types because you just don't know. There's all kinds of factors. What if someone's like builds a better computer, system for that? Or what if no one wants to pay 10 cents to have a car move over, you
Right.
know?
Right. They're like, I'm a good driver. I'll just pass them.
or or they have principle like, oh, I would never pay, whatever,
Yeah.
but so, I
I
would
like what
say
you're
that,
saying though, that it's like you think of it in, it's almost like when you said AT&T provides the cabling, it's like the umbrella,
yeah,
like the house for all of the other little things.
yeah,
So you can only invest in, a small amount in something, most likely higher return on the umbrella.
well, so you're going to get higher return for more risk, like,
Okay.
and the earlier that you get in. So, you might have this car token, you know, come out next month, and you hear about it because the guys who are building it, and they're like, "Hey, buy my token," and you're friends with them, and they're like, "Yeah, it's going to be amazing," and you're like, "Really? Is it?" Like, "Yeah, we're going to kill it. We're going to be the biggest car token ever," and you trust them and you like them, so you buy their token, and you're early, so you get it at a cheap price. But then 4 months later, there's 5 other car tokens out there, and
Right.
but Ethereum is clearly, a market leader, though there are questions of its ability to actually create. I mean, one of the two main obstacles right now for crypto is how do we make it easier for people to acquire and hold and protect it so they don't lose it, right? Like you lost your codes, right?
Mhm.
And how do we make it scale so that 7 million people can use the system and it doesn't slow down? Because right now they haven't solved the scaling.
Mhm. Right. I mean, I love having this conversation because I can say long before 2016, I want to say it was more like, could it have been 2011? I remember Rich's little brother at dinner talking about this new thing called a Bitcoin,
Uh-huh.
you know, and all of us just being like, I'm not going to put my money in that. And like, if at
Yeah,
that time we had even put $10, we would be, we would have had huge growth in wealth. So I always find that really interesting of just like, look, the world is changing. New systems are being built right now. They're especially, there's so much evolving. And I just like just being aware of the fact that like there is a new money system and it has been in play for quite a while. you know like I ended up losing a ton of money. My ex-husband and I completely really lost everything in the economic crisis. And when was that, like 2009?
yeah,
We heavily invested in the stock market and the housing market, and both crashed, and he lost his job. And I had just decided I wanted to quit my amazing job and launch business like 6 months prior. So it was like everything happened at once, plus my health, which was like a massive ongoing monthly bill. So we learned a lot there, and I've had a hard time since then of like really trusting, because we
yeah,
worked so hard to put so
yeah,
much in, and we did have a lot of like major wins, but the way that it fell out was really scary.
yeah,
So
yeah. So after that, I was talking with my parents about, and friends about buying gold and,
right.
uh, buying gold coins or silver coins in the because one of the things that we face, if you really want to dive down the rabbit hole, is the potential that the U.S. dollar is no longer the international currency and the oil based currency.
Mm,
Um, we have a significant advantage against other countries in the world because the U.S. dollar is the world's currency, and they could vote to change that. And I think the Chinese want that, and they want to become that currency. And so, it seems like the wars now are the economic wars in the world.
right.
And so, some people think that cryptocurrency could become a hedge against the U.S. dollar falling,
Mm,
um, as gold has proven to be. And um, there's a doomsday scenario I've seen, which is the world votes to replace the dollar as the world's currency and the oil currency, and we see, 4x inflation in gas prices instantly,
Wow.
and then like 10x inflation of like goods like bread and vegetables and stuff, and um, people just not wanting the dollar. Now that's a really far-fetched idea, but it's not impossible. So, you know, what are the things, like, I think real estate's typically a good thing to have in these types of situations, but and I've heard stocks can be as well. Like, I mean, Apple, Amazon, these types of stocks. I mean, I don't own any stocks right now because I just feel like there's so much, manipulation going on that with Wall Street, that I just don't want to be involved in that. It's just kind of frustrating. And all of the financial planners who like make money based on what you invest in, like I've heard people say the best plan is where um uh the financial planner gets a flat fee, so he's not making a percentage on stuff. I've actually heard other people say he should get a percentage because if he helps you make more money, then he gets more money. But it's like, having worked in real estate financing and knowing a lot about investments, the financial world is full of sharks, and I've just decided to stay away from people whose job it is to sell me on their services and their products.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it becomes a process of having to educate oneself. But I think that especially in the community that we're in, where people are very collaborative, there's a lot of people who are wanting to help with information and wisdom and suggestions, and I don't know, maybe there's even like some, oh, check this out. I know a guy who is building this really incredible project in Bali where he is going to build a real estate development where you can live and invest. You can invest $1,000. This is just an example of the numbers. It's not accurate, where you'll get a week at this community. It's going to be with workshops and retreats and all kinds of conscious, gardening and all the things that we love, right? And if you invest $50,000, you might get 50 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's every year. So he's structuring it where he's fundraising the money, but he's not keeping all of the equity and the value for him and the investors. In fact, the investors are all these $1,000 people who are maybe artists or performers, or people who just don't have the funds to own real estate. They could buy into a project, and the way that this is going to work differently and be sustainable, that the users and investors can really get in at early and have value over time, is that the wealthy, intelligent people who are launching it are not keeping all of the value. It's
Mm,
more of a win-win project
right.
because they want to help create sustainability. And it's a millennial guy, which we know the millennials are more about the collective than they are about themselves, right? Typically. So, I think you're going to be more and more projects like this that if you went to your financial advisor, he would say, don't ever invest in that project. Who's the director? How do they have experience? And he'll give you all of the logical reasons why you shouldn't invest, right? You could lose everything, but really just listening to your heart and trusting, like, is this a person? Is the founder someone that I trust?
Yeah.
Right? And asking friends, like, do you believe that this project is a smart project? And try and sit down with someone who knows numbers and like go over it. And hopefully we can have more, like maybe there's an investment fund that someone launches that invests in conscious businesses and, has less profit taken by the management team, so that it can be more of a like closed circuit community of trusted network.
Right. It's
Ver-
basically, it's everything you're explaining is basically the foundational principles of the network of love. For me, it's born out of this whole process with my health and wanting to start to create support and a network of information around radiant health. There's all these pillars of our lives, our foundations of our lives to raise out of radiant health. It's that same sort of concept. Like if we just start operating more in a collaborative, like How do we share resources? How do we know that everything we need is available within our network? How do we make sure that we're sharing the information? You know, it's just the paradigm shift or the jumping up the track that, you know, quite frankly, just has to happen now. And I've learned it in so many different ways over my life. You know, from spending my early life to doing everything right and investing all the maximum and making a ton of money and, you know, having multiple homes and cars and business and, you know, $1 million profile and then having it disintegrate overnight. You know, it's just, there's so much learning, you know, in our lives. And what I've come to now, not that I'm old, however, I have, you know, had the opportunity to make it through a few of these little Jedi training grounds. Now I just realize, like, love is the only thing that's fireproof. You know, everything can burn, but when you still have your love and then those connections in in a network of love where you're sharing information, you can rebuild, you know. So that's why I'm just so grateful to have this conversation. It's like, I just, no matter what you're going through or how dark it is, I feel like it's just really important to, first of all, keep doing what you can do, and secondly, keep having the conversations about other aspects of life, you know. And one of the things that gets frustrating or depressing when you're not feeling well, or like, you know, when you're going through something similar to me, is it's just like everything else in life like falls away, you know. And I personally love making money. I love generating money. I love building things. I love understanding currency. And so just having this conversation is like a medicine to stay in the conversation and to know that, you know, I have that couple $100. And so now I realize, first you would think, oh, it's nothing and I can't do anything with it. But then I remembered, well, no, people have made a lot of money in the crypto market off of just investing $100 or a couple $100. So I want to just keep opening the door to possibility for anyone who's listening to this, no matter how quote unquote broke you might think you are. Like, I would just challenge you to challenge that thought and, you know, see if there's something that you can give even when you feel like you have nothing to give. If there's something that you can invest, even though when you feel like there's nothing that you can invest, if there's someone who you can reach out to help give you the information that you need to lift you onto that next place. I just really invite everyone into that sort of a practice. So thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being part of that and for
Yeah.
being that person for me.
Yeah. My pleasure and honor. And I really love the way that you are looking at how you can. I love the Patreon model. I think it's beautiful, and you know, your creativity to be able to share your learnings as a way of being what you're giving back is beautiful. And I think that it's a great untapped market
Mm,
that anyone can do.
yeah. Thank you so much. I know, like, really incredible. Jack Conti actually created Patreon, who he's a friend of a friend, and I agree. It's a really beautiful model. So thank you everyone for participating in the Network of Love. Thank you, Stefan. And again, where can people find you if they're just super inspired by this and want to reach out? Is it
Yeah, so stefangrafstein.com, or my Instagram, Stefan Grafstein, Grafstein,
cool?
and for Stefan. And I love chatting. I love hearing about if this conversation opened anything up. So yeah, definitely reach out.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Blessings. More soon.
Blessings to you, sister.